with us today, Jose Segarra from Bostrom, Strategic Director and Senior Account Manager. Looking forward to jumping into our conversation. We always get a little chance to do some conversing pre-show, and I think there's some really great stuff in here to talk about. And I'm interested for our audience to get to know you as well, Jose. So why don't we kick off, do a quick intro, tell us a little bit about yourself and your work at Bostrom.
Like you said, I'm the strategic director and senior account executive, which means I have a couple of clients, association clients. Bostrom is an association management company, so I serve a couple of clients as the executive director. And then I also have other corporate responsibilities, which is the strategic director part of that, which at times means consulting, at times means doing things internally. And one of the things internally that I do is work on the DEI efforts that Bostrom has with the staff and some activities outside and with our clients as well.
Yeah. It sounds like an association executive because you wear a lot of hats. That yes. Seems to be the thing in the industry is there's no one thing, and at all levels of an association, we get to have a lot of these conversations. And man, that is the game, right? Take off one hat, put it on, and all day long you just sort of switch gears.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun and interesting every day. So you think you're going to do something, and then you end up in another part of the world and trying to figure things out, and it just keeps it interesting.
Yeah, if there's anybody out there listening, watching who really enjoys their days not being the same, come join association industry. Well, I'm curious. I often ask this to our guests, like what brought you to the industry originally? How did you find associations? And then I'll follow up. I'll give you the question now. What's kept you in it?
I'm originally from Puerto Rico. I moved to Chicago when I was 20 and did a couple of jobs for a couple of years in the hotel industry, and then pretty quickly got tired of that because I was working all the shifts at one point. So
I've heard that from others in that industry. I'm not trying to badmouth any particular industry, but that is not unique to you, Jose, I'd say.
Right. So I was like, I don't know when to go to sleep, so maybe I should change jobs. So I went to a temping agency and I said, I just want a regular job. What do you have? And they placed me at the American Hospital Association. And I was there for, I think, 3 or 4 months. And they ended up hiring me as the phone operator. It was like an associate, but I was literally working on the phones all the time.
So where I started as well, for what it's worth, on the phones, talking to members.
Yeah, talking to members and putting them through in different parts of the organization. So from there, I literally the first few years I thought this is a job, and they have really good benefits, so I'm gonna stay here for a while. And about 4 or 5 years in, I got tapped on the shoulder and somebody asked me to be in a project for a subsidiary. And then I also started working on eliminating racial and ethnic disparities in healthcare and access and coverage for the uninsured. And that's the why.
Okay.
When that happened, my entire time, a little bit of background. I'm first generation college graduate. So I didn't have a lot of guidance going to college and saying, hey, study this. If you don't know what you want to do, choose something, broad that you can change later on. So I always have a problem with, why do I have to choose what I'm going to do for the rest of my life right now?
Yeah.
I'm 18. I think I can change my mind, but it was like that whole pressure.
Yeah, so, I have a 13-year-old that's stressing out about that now. It's like, all right, slow down, buddy. It's not that important right now.
Right.
You don't have to know. Just
right. But I didn't know that, right? It was all the pressure.
Nobody does.
What is it that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life? And I really didn't know. So all I kept saying is, I just want to help people. I just want to have a meaningful job. So I switched from teacher to economics to psychologists to like all these things, and I just kept
Done
changing.
it all. Yeah.
I know, and I was like, nope, I don't like that. Nope, I don't like that. So, um, I at the end I just chose something very broad, and when I started working on racial and ethnic disparities and access and coverage, I was like, this is it. This is how I can help people. I can literally go back home and say, I distributed these 5 things to hospitals in the US to help people get access to Medicare, Medicaid, or any other type of insurance. I can go and say, I, created a case study that is going to be seen by all these medical staff and hospital administrators. That's going to help them with the culture of, um, uh, you know, not not having equal treatment for minorities in healthcare. So that was very palpable to me, and it spoke to me about like what the power of associations can be. And I just immediately, once I realized that, I was like, yeah, this is how I'm going to be helping people for the rest of my life, and this is my path.
Yeah. That's an amazing story, by the way. And thank you for sharing. It sounds like you thankfully found passion, I would say, early.
Yeah.
There's still folks that are searching for that well into the later years of their life. And I think I could hear the passion, right? I mean, it was obvious. Watching, we're having this conversation in person live and over video. I could see in the video. My next question was really going to be around, well, what are your favorite things to do now? Like flash forward at Bostrom, but I feel like maybe you've told us the answer. But you still wear a lot of hats as you've shared, and you do a lot of things. I'd say higher level, you get to work with associations in your role through management. But so I'm going to ask it anyway. So what are the things that you most enjoy about your role and getting to work with multiple associations high level today?
So I think I go back to that. Like, I want to, like, my why is like, I want to help people. So, working with the board and volunteers to develop some type of curriculum so that they can get better at what they do, working through the governance, helping them with the finances, making sure that they're in a good space so they can make strategic decisions that are going to be impactful for their field. That's what really excites me. Either when I'm working with my 2 clients that I manage and I'm the executive director for, or whether it's through consulting or anything else. Another thing that really I'm passionate about is the DEI work that I'm involved at Bostrom, and it's more of an internal process. It's not a scene for everybody, but I feel like I was the first chair of the diversity team, and I agree that this is something that not one person should be in charge of, because this is more staff led, and is an opportunity for other people in the company to be like seen as leaders. So we have a whole team, but who's the chair? That, in my opinion, needs to change from time to time. So I stepped back as a chair, but I still am part of the DEI team. So we all support each other. We all support the organization. The organization, Bostrom, has become very diverse since we started this. And it's just made the company, so much better, because now we have all these different thoughts and different values that are concentrated in one place, and we can flourish together. We can support each other. So that's the other piece that I really look forward to at my job.
So let me ask a clarifying question then. So is the DEI work that you're doing there with Bostrom specific to Bostrom, or is it also cascade into the associations you work with?
Yes.
Okay.
It's both. So the the DEI team is part of Bostrom, and it's like under HR. our chief people officer is in that committee, and
Mm-hmm.
we all work for, doing things at Bostrom. Of course, that has a ripple effect because the more diverse we are, then our clients see that. One of the things that ended up happening in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd was that our clients were coming to us and saying, hey, we want to put out a statement. Associations put out statements.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone put out a statement. So we were saying, yeah, we can help you craft, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to say? So
Right.
we received some of
And
the
why?
draft. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And we received some of the draft, and some of it, I was like, you can't say this. And then we provided feedback, we provided edits, and then they ended up saying what they wanted to say. And then there were other organizations that sent us their draft, and we were like, this is perfect. Like, I
Yeah.
need to, make sure that some of this stuff I can pass on to other clients, which is the beauty of association management company, right? You learn from
Right.
your own clients.
Share best
Pass that
practices.
along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so without getting too specific, because I won't ask you, I'm not going to ask you for lists of names, but when you're making those type of messages, what makes something good or bad, or what's something that you should be thinking about that makes one that you saw, you read it and you said, this is perfect, right? Versus, hey, I looked at this and you can't say that. I mean, high level, again, we're not trying to quote anybody.
No, yeah. I'll give you an example of one client sent us the statement that they were planning on putting out there, and that's the one that I was like, you cannot put this out there. It felt like a platitude. It felt like that's something that everybody was doing, so they felt like they needed to do it too, and that came across on the statement.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's behind this statement? Like, you're just saying all of these things, but how is it affecting the organization? How is it affecting your members? What is the commitment that you have? Or what have you done in DEI? Is this just like the first thing that you're going to put out there, and there's like nothing behind it? So that's the type of statements that we were like, that's not good. Then there were others that were really tying the mission of the organization with what happened with their members and how they are affected, and commitments that they were making to make things better.
Yeah. Authenticity, I mean, it's kind of what I heard. You can feel it when it's there, and you really can't when it's not. And I would jokingly say it sounds like one was written by ChatGPT or some other AI generated, generic messaging, and the other was written by a human with a heart. Is that fair?
Yeah, totally.
So so zoom out for a second within the association landscape. This is clearly a passion. I want to lean in a little bit. Like, what are we doing well in the association landscape as it relates to DEI? And also, what are we still dragging on?
I think the answer really is, it depends, because there are so many organizations that are doing so much in DEI, and they're really passionate about it. Their members are really passionate about it, and their members are wanting to push that forward, those efforts. And then there are other organizations that really are like, well, we put out this statement, and we now have like a DEI committee, so like, we're done.
We've checked a small box.
Right. So overall, I think the big thing is that there is certainly a lot more awareness about the issues related to DEI. Some of the things that happened in 2020 and all those efforts, what we have seen now is that some of those organizations that were trying to step up to the plate because they hadn't done anything have let those efforts kind of slide, because the farther we get from 2020, the less focus they still have in those efforts. So to answer your question, it depends. I think maintaining the the focus on DEI, making sure that your organization is working on at some level with this, wherever you are at the start of the journey, in the middle, or far along. That's great, but continue to move the needle, and making sure that those efforts don't fall by the wayside.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big spectrum in my mind of, the level of importance and the commitment that associations make to this topic. And you see on one end the people who they write a statement, they say they have a policy, and that's it, right? And on the other end of the spectrum, and it may even go farther beyond this, is you actually staff a position that's dedicated to this initiative, and then you go further to empower that person, right? Because just short of that is there's associations, and we won't point fingers at names, that staff the position but don't give that position any power, right? And so it looks like on the surface that it's actually an initiative because we now have somebody, maybe even a leadership position. But the other impact areas, when it really comes down to it, we're really back focusing on revenue impact, or we're going international, or there's mergers and acquisitions, both at the member level or at the association level, and all these other big things. There's board tension, but take the precedence. And so it's kind of there, but it's not. Is that fair?
Yeah, totally. One is not in the association world, but one thing that we have seen is defunding of DEI positions in colleges, like Texas, Florida. Like they're going, like eliminating those positions. Not that that's happening in associations. I don't specifically know if that's specifically happening in associations, but if you don't give somebody the power to do something related to their position, related to DEI, then what's the use of having that position? It's just something very DEI light, if you will.
Yeah. I heard in terms of sort of breathing that through the organization, I heard somebody recently say that for their association, they actually have those folks give presentations, right? People who are part of that diversity committee, they give presentations, but they give it regularly and to the whole staff so that everybody, it's not siloed again over here. And there's an understanding, and then there's an opportunity to give feedback, and they create a communication that ideally, ripples down through all departments and all communications. It's more integrated. And I thought that was great because, again, I just feel like I see it still very siloed.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things that we actually have done at Bostrom. The DEI team does presentations throughout the year for the staff. I think so far we've done 3. Yeah, we've done 3. So there's just one more in the fourth quarter that we're doing. But we involve everybody. We come up with the topics, and then we ask leadership, do you want to present on this, or could you present on this? Could you present and pair with the staff? And then we send it to the staff as well and say, do you want to present on one of these topics? And people just step up and say, yes, that's something that's actually very interesting to me, or I am part of that, part of the DEI spectrum, and I would really like to present my story. So we try to make it very democratic, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have other examples? Again, another question that I didn't ask you before the show, but do you have other examples of organizations who do it really well? Are there specific tactical type things that they've implemented that you can point to and go, this worked, this created the results they were looking for, this impact was progressive and actually led to better decision making, or again, greater towards the mission or initiative?
I think Association Latinos, which is one of the So I'm a board member for Association Latinos. Five of us founded the organization, and I'm also in the Association Forum board as a board member. And Association Forum has the welcoming environment um, platform. That's something that I think worked very well in terms of making sure it, and it's such an easy, like you want to have a welcoming environment. So that's part of what we want overall in all of our associations. So I use it internally
Yeah.
too. So that whole platform, I think, works very well. And Association Latinos was founded because five of us got together to do a webinar for Hispanic Heritage Month.
Hmm.
Most of us didn't know each other. And then we were like, oh, there are other association executives out there. um, should we collaborate or something? So little by little, we kept meeting after that, and we kept growing. And last year, in August, we became a nonprofit. And so far, the the feedback has been amazing. The work that we've done has been very meaningful for a lot of people. We've highlighted so many other association Latinos, like association Latinos that work in associations,
Hmm.
that there's a buzz out there now. We started as a LinkedIn group that grew to 1,000 very quickly, 1,000 followers, and we were like, we
Wow.
need to be an association.
Yeah.
So we did that, and it's because people, other Latinos, saw that, yeah, there's a whole group of people that we can rely on, that we can connect on, that know what we're going through, not only professionally, but as a Latino growing up in this industry that's mostly white, right? So
Yeah.
we can talk about those issues as well. So, and we have those platforms, whether it's like a webinar that we do. We've had a couple of pop-ups for in ASAE.
Hmm.
And then we're working very closely with Association Forum as well. So there's a lot of momentum there in association wide. So we definitely, I, of course, I'm biased towards this, but I definitely feel like we have done a very good job at creating that platform.
It's certainly an underrepresented community within the association marketplace, as you said. I really appreciate the work that you're doing to grow that. I'd love to hear, and I think our audience would too. Tell us a little bit more about Association Latinos, and where do you see that going, and what are some of the things that you guys have coming up? I saw the booth at ASAE we talked about. That's amazing. What's next?
Yeah. So we are now working on, I'm the board liaison to the awards committee. So this is the first time that we are having awards by the organization. So we are actually going to be selecting the winners tomorrow. And
Wow.
then we're going to be announcing it. We're going to have an event both in DC and in Chicago, the two hubs for associations.
Yeah.
And we're going to be giving the awards. We still don't know where the winners are going to be.
That's
So
okay.
wherever
We don't
it
have to use this as a platform to announce them. What are sort of the basis, or what are the things that you're looking for? I mean, is it just executives that are championing what within associations? Anything
Well,
specific?
the thing with Association Latinos is like we didn't see ourselves
Right.
reflected in the association world, right? We didn't
Right.
really know how many Association Latinos. We still don't know how many Association Latinos are working in associations. So it we wanted to highlight people and making sure that we were seen. So that's the major piece. That's the big mission for Association Latinos. And other things that we're looking forward to is next year we definitely want to continue the committees. This year we had committees for the first time. starting in January. We're looking forward to renewing that. We're looking forward to our event in October for the awards. We're looking forward to working on some research that we're preparing so that we can actually find out how many Latinos actually work in association, and not just Latinos, but like different types of minorities, so that it's a really comprehensive study that we can measure ourselves against. It's like a benchmarking type of thing. So we're working on that. So
Yep.
we're small, we're all volunteer run, but we're mighty. So
How many folks are volunteering currently?
we have about 30 people that are volunteers.
Wow.
And 5 people at the board.
That's fantastic. And I guess I'll take a quick second just to say, if anybody's listening and they have research information like this put together and they want to share, please reach out to Jose.
Yes, absolutely.
How else can people help Association Latinos in its growth and its mission?
Definitely volunteer. If you go to associationlatinos.org, you can see different ways to get engaged. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's where we make announcements. It goes out regularly. We can work in terms of like sponsorships. We have several sponsors already that have come this year, and donate. Those are the ways that you can get involved right now. And if you get the newsletter, if you sign up for the newsletter, you'll definitely be aware of what's happening, what's coming up next, and any announcements that we make throughout the year.
Yeah, progress takes resources. Yeah. I don't think that's anything new, but any way that folks can help, please reach out to Jose. That's great. So you took one of my questions I always like to ask guests. What is it that you're looking forward to next year? You shared some of that as it relates to Association Latinos. What else do you get sort of jazzed about every year when looking forward? I guess we're in 23. We're looking forward to 24. What are those things that stand out to you in the industry that, in your role or just industry wide, that kind of get you excited?
I'm looking forward to a brand new year for Association Latinos. I'm looking forward to industry events that help me get jazzed up about what I do and bring new ideas and start new initiatives at work. I'm looking forward to more connections in terms of the industry and people that we can work together to, help support others. Again, going back to the why, it's like, how can we help? That's always like the big thing that I look forward to, bringing ideas so that I can generate other ways to help people, or partnering with folks so that we can help each other in some way.
How about something that's not on the resume, Jose? Something fun or interesting about Jose that we couldn't find online, we couldn't find in your resume, that we can only find out here unless we're family?
I do like nature, so I go camping from time to time. People are always surprised by that. I'm like, well, I need time away from the city. I live in the center of Chicago, so there's a lot of industrial, business things happening around, and disconnecting from all of that from time to time is really, it's healing for me. Just putting up a hammock and being in nature for a whole day, or going kayaking or going camping, that's really rejuvenating for me.
I think I've seen you on another show where self-proclaimed introvert, like that's how you recharge the batteries, is what I hear.
Yes, exactly. So it's not isolation, but like being a little bit removed from all the bustling helps me. So yes, I am an introvert. When I took my Myers-Briggs, I was very young. It was actually the first year that I worked at the American Hospital Association, and I took it, and then the results came back, and the consultant that was giving me the results said, "Oh, so you're like an introvert?" And I was like, "Oh my God, that makes so much sense."
Yeah.
I was like, I've never been able to call it like something, but like, yes,
There it
I
is.
am an introvert. So
But for clarity, you still get out there, you run all these things, you talk to a lot of people, you get on stage. Let's just not confuse things, right? For those that know, being an introvert, I think for you really means I just need to go somewhere again to recharge the batteries, and then I can do just about anything.
right, right. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm shy. It's not like I'm, not social. I do all of that, but then at the end of the day, it's draining. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy to do it, and sometimes you get really good energy, but a lot of the times I'm like, okay, so now that I'm not in this social mode, then you're like, oh, like I need to recharge, and
Yeah.
that's a way to do it. Either going in nature, reading a book, staying by yourself for a couple of hours. That's how I do it.
My spouse is an introvert. She's a teacher, has been for 19 years at this point. And she would call that like being on stage, right? She's
Yeah,
got 25 people or 20 people, whatever it is, and she's on stage and it's draining. And so when people ask, why do you wake up at 4:30 in the morning? And she said, so I can be by myself.
yeah,
And that's exactly right. She gets up at 4:30 in the morning so she can be by herself, recharge the batteries, and then get on stage for 8 hours of the day and be completely drained when she's done. But
yeah,
you'd never know it watching her on stage. She's a fantastic teacher, and she can go out there and go to a cocktail party and be in front of the kids and do whatever. But at the end of it, she's ready to just recharge somewhere else.
yeah, exactly.
Well, how far outside of the city do you have to get to find the woods?
Uh Only like I want to say 2 or 3 hours. We're only like an hour and a half, 2 hours from Milwaukee. So there are a bunch of forest preserves up there,
Yeah.
and that's really good camping. That's also there are a lot of lakes around, so that's also good kayaking. And then there's Michigan as well. So in 3 hours, I can be in a campground in Michigan. Illinois, I have camped in Illinois, but not that many times, and it's usually like all the way by the Mississippi. So that's a little bit of a hike.
Yeah. That's not too dissimilar then from DC. I go camping time to time with friends or family, and it's a couple hours. You got to get yourself maybe out to West Virginia,
Yeah,
or almost to West Virginia, right,
yeah,
to get there. But
yeah,
it's fantastic. Well, Jose, it's been a pleasure speaking with you and learning more about your story and your journey. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing. As we do at the end of every episode, we'd love to know if you have somebody in your network that our audience would benefit from hearing from.
yes. I've thought about this, and I want to nominate Norma Castrejon. She is a fellow board member at Association Latinos, and she is an amazing leader and a really, really good, empathetic soul. So it's
Awesome.
always great to talk to Norma and get some updates or just like catch up and just as friends.
Awesome. Well, I really look forward to meeting Norma, having a conversation, and having her on the show. Thank you for sharing that as well, and appreciate the time, Jose. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.